Freddie Coleman every Friday morning here on Big Board Sports. It's NFL Wild Card Weekend, and Freddie with Freddie and Fitz, ESPN Radio, joins us on Big Board Sports. Good morning to you, Freddie.
Good morning, my friend Rodger. How are you up in the Capital District?
We're doing great, man. Just trying to figure out a way that I can be in front of the TV for all of these games, and with, family and kids and coaching and games and everything else, it's always a chore, but I'm sure I'll piece it together, Freddie. How about you?
Well, put it this way. On a weekend like this, you probably need 48 hours in a day based on what you just told me what your weekend could look like outside of football. But you're exactly right, because it's always fun, the first two playoff weekends in the National Football League, because you get two games each and every day starting this weekend and going into next weekend. So I'm hoping we're going to get great football, and I guarantee you're going to get something that's going to happen that we could have never anticipated.
All right, let's take them in order here. We'll start Saturday and make our way to Sunday. And the first game on Saturday is at 4:30, and that'll be the Oakland Raiders at the Houston Texans. We know how I think the mindset would be a whole lot different if Derek Carr were quarterback, but he's not. Connor Cook is. Can the Raiders still get it done in Houston?
The way they can get it done is that they have to hope that Brock Osweiler goes back to being Brock Osweiler before he got benched by the Houston Texans, because I know Connor Cook is going to get the start at quarterback as a rookie. Can you imagine Connor Cook on the bench all season long as a third-string quarterback, and the first time you get an NFL start is going to be in a playoff game against the Houston Texans on the road? So we know that he will have to deal with that kind of pressure. But I think this game has to come down to the Raiders' defense, and they got to put all the pressure on Brock Osweiler, because I don't think there's any quarterback maybe this weekend that has more pressure than him because of what the contract entailed that he got from the Houston Texans. He gets benched, and he would not be out there if Savage had not been put in a concussion protocol. So if you're the Oakland Raiders defense, you got to put this on your shoulders to not only put pressure on the opposing quarterback and Brock Osweiler, but reduce that kind of pressure on your quarterback as a rookie getting his first start in Connor Cook.
Yeah, Cook has zero career starts, and there he is in this spotlight. Sometimes it works out, though. You'd say, they're not going to be able to get it done offensively, and then sometimes in these games, in this situation with a storyline that you don't think could happen, Cook will go out there and play well, and the Raiders will probably maybe do better than we think on the offensive side of the ball. We'll see. Then you get to the late game on NBC, Freddie. Detroit at Seattle, and the point spread on this is the Seahawks by 8.
I'm stunned that that's a high point spread with Seattle, because they've had so many struggles offensively. Even in the last regular season game against San Francisco, they won that game by 2 points, a team that only had 2 wins all season long in the National Football League. And I think these are the kind of games that if you're Matthew Stafford, where so many people wonder if you can lead your team through the playoffs and have them make a deep playoff run, if you can go into what I still believe it's a winnable game with Detroit versus Seattle, because if Stafford can play that way, if the running game can help out, if the defense can get pressure on Seattle, you're going to put that kind of pressure on them. And we've seen at times that you can get pressure on Russell Wilson. You can beat him up a little bit and make him wary of that pass rush. All of a sudden, things are not in the right order for Seattle, which means they have to run the ball effectively to reduce that on him. I think the defense is going to play well. But the one thing that we're not going to see that we've seen in previous years, Rodger, is that fear and intimidation factor of their home field. I don't think that is as there as it used to be with Seattle. That could play into the hands of the Detroit Lions. I still think Seattle is going to win this game, but I would tell people, even with that big point spread, don't be surprised if Detroit goes in there and finds a way to get it done, because I worry about that Seattle offensive line. I worry about Russell Wilson trying to put too much on his shoulders, and that fear factor, that home field fear factor, not as prevalent as we've seen in previous years in Seattle.
Freddie, before I ask you about the Pittsburgh Steelers, I got to let you know, you made it, and this is how I know. This morning, I overheard our two young producers playfully debating which one was going to call you and spend that 15 seconds on the phone before the interview. And I overheard them playfully debating. I said, wow, just 15 seconds on the phone with Freddie, that's going to make one of their days. So that's pretty cool. So I wanted to share that with you, that you have that impact on people.
Well, I'm blessed by that, number one. And number two, I told my mom fat mouthing would get me somewhere. She never believed me, but how wrong she turned out to be.
Hey, the Steelers game, Rodger just asked you about the number in the Detroit game. The Steelers are laying 10, but they're at home against a Dolphins team that doesn't have their starting quarterback. Is there any reason to believe that the Steelers can't cover that double-digit spread?
Yeah, and here's why. Because we saw in the first meeting how the running game happened for the Miami Dolphins. I know Ben Roethlisberger wasn't the Ben Roethlisberger that we've seen now, and Le'Veon Bell didn't really get going yet. I still worry about the Steelers' defense stopping the run, and if Miami's able to do that, you not only keep Ben Roethlisberger off the field and put more pressure on him at home, but you also help out your quarterback, Matt Moore, who is really going to be a benefit if the Miami running game can help out. I still want to see what Ndamukong Suh is going to show up, because if I've seen the guy that I've seen at times this year where he commands double and triple teams, that means they can get pressure with other people and they dial up blitzes and put that kind of pressure on Ben Roethlisberger. And he can also stop running games because he ties up so many people and linebackers are able to run free. That being said, if you're Miami, Pittsburgh knows what happened the first time. You know they're going to make adjustments. But they also believe that they're the better football team, not just on paper, but they believe they're a team that can challenge the New England Patriots. They're going to be hell-bent to make sure a team like Miami is not going to do to them in a playoff game on their home field what they did in the regular season. So I understand why the line is there. When you have a backup quarterback, you still worry about Miami. Can they be able to stop Pittsburgh playing on the road? I understand why that line is there. But if Miami's able to run the ball effectively early and they get into the red zone and score touchdowns, all of a sudden whatever pressure's on Matt Moore will switch over to Ben Roethlisberger, and he can deal with it. We know that. But in a one-and-done situation, tricky things can happen, and we've seen that no matter who the participants have been in a playoff game.
Talking with Freddie Coleman, who's been with us every Friday morning, NFL football with Freddie and Fitz, ESPN Radio. And I think a lot of people think the game of the weekend is going to be the last game played, which will be the 4:40 Fox game on Sunday. Packers by 4.5, favored at home to beat the Giants. Much has been made this week about Odell Beckham and Victor Cruz and a few others partying down with Justin Bieber. I really don't think that's going to affect Odell Beckham Jr.'s play whatsoever. And I think he'll play a big game. I don't know that it'll be enough, though, to beat this red-hot Green Bay Packer team.
Rodger, I'm with you because I know a lot of people looked at the whole party scene. Unless Justin Bieber's going out there to play wide receiver for the New York Giants, I think they're going to be fine, not worrying about what happened last week when they had a day off. And even Eli Manning, I thought, did a great job diffusing the whole thing. He's saying he made a joke out of the whole thing, saying, hey, they didn't have the right flip-flops. They didn't have the right shorts. I was not invited. That was his way of saying that was then. I'm not worried about these guys and their preparation for a playoff game. These guys are not going to be distracted because they're going to be ready for this. They've been looking forward to this. That being said, you have a hot Green Bay Packers team. And you know, and I never want to play what happened then could happen now. But you know Aaron Rodgers has it burned in his mind that the last time he played the New York Giants on his home field in a playoff game when they were 15-1, the Giants were the better football team with their defense, and Eli Manning outplayed him. He's the kind of guy that is not going to forget things like that at all. The Packers' defense is playing better. Whatever running game they get, we know it's going to be predicated on how Aaron Rodgers throws the football. But if they can get just enough to slow down that Giants pass rush, they don't become a one-dimensional, one-handed team. That could be more than enough. Now, the Giants know going into a frigid game, they're looking forward to that kind of matchup. They believe they can win this kind of matchup. But if Aaron Rodgers plays like we've seen, and Eli Manning plays like we've seen lately, that's not going to be good for the Giants, and even their defense may not be able to overcome that.
So close game, and your pick's going to go with Green Bay.
Yeah, close game. I got Green Bay winning this one 21-14. I just think it's going to be one of those games where the Giants defense will raise up and play extremely well. Keep an eye on Damon Harrison, who may be the best interior lineman in the National Football League this year. They call him Snacks, and he's been eating up offensive linemen all year long in the middle of that Giants defense. But I think Aaron Rodgers, he loves putting that pressure on himself. Last year he told everybody to relax. Green Bay got into the playoffs. When they were 4-6, he told everybody, hey, if we get one, we can run the table. That's exactly what they've done. He has not thrown an interception since Week 7 of the National Football League, and in that time he's thrown 22 touchdown passes. He loves situations like this to put that pressure on himself, go in there and win that ball game. I think he'll find a way to get it done. But he knows, and everybody should know this, it is not going to be an easy game, and that should be a fitting end to what I think could be a pretty good weekend football-wise in the NFL on Wild Card Weekend.
Freddie, keep up the great work. We, again, as always, really appreciate your time here every Friday morning on Big Board Sports.
My pleasure. Make sure your producers don't fight. I don't want any kind of inner office battle trying to talk to me. I'll talk to both of them to make sure that doesn't happen. How does that sound?
That sounds good, Freddie. Get that star power, man. You got to calm these guys down this morning, all right?
Thanks, Freddie.
I don't know
you,
about
Freddie.
star power, but I'll try to be a peacemaker. How does that sound?
That works for us. Thank you, Freddie. Freddie Coleman with us here on Big Board Sports. And